everyone, it's me, Moonbuster Green, and today I've got something special. It's a rare movie review because I want to review movies, but I haven't gotten around to it. Quite frankly, I haven't been pissed off enough to do it, so... Today, I wanted to do a quick review of the completely bogus Mortal Kombat remake that just dropped on HBO Max. But as I realized as I watched it, I kind of noticed that I know a lot of random shit about Mortal Kombat, despite honestly giving up on the franchise when I was 14. So I heard a lot of good things about this new movie, and I decided to watch it today, feeling very optimistic that it might be okay. But it wasn't okay. You know, it was just shit. It was just garbage. Ugh. Literally all this movie had to do was be better than the 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, which, like, if you guys can remember, was the first good video game movie. Maybe to this day, one of the only good video game movies. Anyway, that movie launched the hit techno song of the summer and the filmographic career of P.T. Anderson. Like, you need Mortal Kombat to be good to eventually get There Will Be Blood to be made. Now, for my part in all this, I love the original Mortal Kombat video game trilogy, and full on thought that with those three games, you could adapt them into a perfect movie trilogy. You got a beginning, the first tournament, a middle, Mortal Kombat 2, the tournament in the other dimension, and Mortal Kombat 3, where it all comes to shit and they destroy New York. Now, I played a few of the other spin-off games over the years too, like DC vs. Mortal Kombat stood out because, you know, you got the Joker killing everybody. But most of the others, and pretty much everything after Mortal Kombat 3, just felt too phony, too sellout-y, too stupid. It was like way too off from the original matter to me. So yeah, like once Mortal Kombat got big, there were a bunch of bad, stupid mutations of Mortal Kombat. Like you got your Mortal Kombat cartoon on TV, you got your Mortal Kombat TV show at nights on TNT. And I'm acknowledging these very briefly, but they were all bad, shameless cash grabs that just existed for the sake of cashing in on a name and being edgy. So, if you guys don't recall, the original Mortal Kombat video game followed a series of like 7 characters who get summoned to fight to the death in a tournament against an alternate dimension named Outworld, which is like a hellscape monster dimension, by a Chinese wizard named Shang Tsung, who leads an army of horrible people. He has this monster named Goro working for him, and heroes show up to fight him, and total chaos ensues. It's your classic good versus evil action figure clash, kind of like G.I. Joe, but with murders. You got your very standard good guy, fitnessy, healthy characters like Liu Kang, the Chinese martial artist, Johnny Cage, the Tom Cruise-esque Hollywood movie star, who is just in this tournament as a complete joke publicity stunt, Sonya Blade, a high-ranking member of the army, who along with her partner Jax, go around solving crimes and are trying to arrest Kano, a thief and generally a bad guy with a cyborg eye. Also, quick pause here for a sec. I have to point out that as a kid, this completely went over my head, but as an adult, I noticed that Sonya and Jax's backstory, that they are partners in the army who solve crimes, does not make sense. So, what's up with that? Continuing. There's next, Raiden, the God of Thunder, who is the best character in the game for various reasons, like lightning bolts. But in most adaptations, he's forced to sit this out because he's an OP god and lightning bolt effects are expensive. Lastly, there are the 2 evil ninjas, Sub-Zero, the ice ninja, who can freeze anyone dead, and Scorpion, the fire ninja, who is an undead lich. These guys are awesome, very cool characters. They are the only ones who made it onto the reboot poster. And even though they look like they're literally the same guy, they completely hate each other. Because Sub-Zero originally killed Scorpion, and now Scorpion's undead. There's also a 3rd secret ninja character named Reptile, who is very specifically, in the original trilogy of games, a lizard man from the Outworld pretending to be a human. So anyway, in the year of our Lord 1995, the first Mortal Kombat movie comes out. it completely faithfully adapts the first Mortal Kombat video game. Liu Kang is the main character. Sonya and Johnny Cage are also there, completing your standard hero trilogy. Raiden is there as a benevolent Gandalf-style know-it-all god trying to help the heroes out. Goro is there, but he's an expensive claymation suit monster who shows up like a couple of times, then they push him off a cliff because he's expensive. Shang Tsung is there, and he's a completely awesome, badass final boss. He's sucking souls, he's transforming. Shang Tsung was the man in the original movie. And then, adding in even more awesome, they added in some of the clarifying characters and story elements from Mortal Kombat 2. Like Jax was there because according to his story in Mortal Kombat 2, he actually was. You just couldn't play as him. Katana was there because they needed more female characters, and her story and all this stuff explains the plot better. And finally, through it all, was a non-stop, pulse-pounding techno soundtrack that was super fucking awesome! So, the end of Mortal Kombat 1 sets up the completely promising movie adaptation of Mortal Kombat 2, which we kinda never got. So the first movie was followed up by a sequel, Mortal Kombat Annihilation. I do not remember this movie at all. I remember going into this movie, going out of the movie, and saying to myself as a kid, wow, that movie was pretty freaking cool. I think it was better than the first one. Now, despite that, don't remember any of it. Like, I remember the first movie like it was yesterday, but Annihilation, I don't remember. Just, I remember liking it. Now, apparently, as I'm looking into it, apparently it was actually an adaptation of mostly Mortal Kombat 3's story, which sounds okay. But that still kind of sucks because they skipped over Mortal Kombat 2 and just went straight to 3. I guess because of the budget issues, since 2 is entirely set in the alternate dimension and has a lot of cool monsters. Shit, now I'm wondering if I should rewatch Mortal Kombat Annihilation? I kinda want to. Anyway, so that's beside this and that. What is going on this week is I watched the fucking new Mortal Kombat movie. And it was just really, really bad. Alright, so the movie starts off really promisingly, showing the historical backstory of how Scorpion originally died in feudal Japan, and Sub-Zero was the guy who originally killed him. Now, I think in the games, the Sub-Zero who killed Scorpion was like the ancestor of the Sub-Zero you actually fight in the game. But anyway, then Mortal Kombat 3, it was like the son of the dude you fight because he died. But anyway, in this movie, they changed his backstory and he's just some weird, immortal Chinese dude. Okay, that's a lazy writing choice, but I get it because they wanted to use the same actor all throughout the movie. So fine, I'll forgive it. Anyway, so he's killed Scorpion and his family, and while he is doing so, he speaks in a weird mix of Chinese, his native language, Japanese, the language of the man he's fighting, and American English for no apparent reason, in what I need to point out is 1600s feudal Japan, 100 years before fucking America would even exist. What? Alright, so I also did not realize this during the movie, but apparently they also gave him Noob Saibot's backstory, which is weird and dumb, and apparently this is because this is a plot twist that was added to Mortal Kombat 11, and the movie decided to go with it. So since Mortal Kombat 11 did it, it's not the movie's fault, so I will overlook that too. Anyway, then we come to the biggest throbbing issue of the movie. In the original 95 Mortal Kombat movie, they made Liu Kang the main character, because in the game, Liu Kang is the main character. Also, Sonya and Johnny Cage are technically the good guy characters, so they were the main characters too. In this fucking movie, they introduced this really shitty original character called Cole Young. Cole Young is this half-Asian, washed-up former MMA fighter who's a distant descendant of Scorpion Ninja bloodline. But he's got no weapons, he's got no training, he's a half-ass MMA fighter. Anyway, the character has no development or personality, and in general, his thing is just, he's a weak coward and he sucks. the best aspects of his story are just stolen from Scorpion, and he completely exists to ask dumb questions that you didn't need in 1995, and he's just a complete waste of time. Like, he's just there to have a vulnerable family that can be traumatized and victimized by Sub-Zero. I really despise this character. And on top of that, this poster bills this movie as the ultimate Scorpion versus Sub-Zero movie, and also a fresh take on Mortal Kombat. Well, Cole Young hijacks this movie and ruins any chance for us to have either of those. He usurps Scorpion's backstory, he steals screen time from the significant better Scorpion actor Hiroyuki Sanada, and on top of that, he bogarts Liu Kang's role as the legitimate and competent main character of the story. So the movie starts off well enough with Cole immediately being stalked by Sub-Zero, who's trying to kill him. Then he immediately hooks up with Jax and Sonya, who are trying to protect him. Jax gets his fucking arms ripped off by Sub-Zero, and I thought that was cool because I knew they were just going to use that as a setup for his robot arms. And yeah, that's a promising lead up to that. Like, this movie has basic nuggets of competency, it just doesn't gel very well. Then they go to Sonya's trailer park house in a toxic waste dump, where they do a huge shit out of the plot, during which there's this cute Easter egg where you see Nightwolf on an old Wild West poster. And then they reveal Sonya's keeping Kano a prisoner. And in the 1995 version, Kano is once again played by a hilarious, lovable asshole Australian actor you've never heard of, but we hope he does well after this. Anyway, so then out of nowhere, Reptile shows up. And in this movie, Reptile fucking sucks. Reptile is literally my favorite character in the original Mortal Kombat. And I give this movie 1 point of credit for the fact that he uses all of his classic moves. It loses all credibility by just presenting Reptile as a fucking giant mutant dinosaur, which is such bullshit. The 1995 version did him just so much more faithfully and so much more justly. And in this version, he's the fucking lizard from Spider-Man. I just fucking can't. So then they steal a plane, and of course they jump out of the plane, and then they walk over a hill. And then all of a sudden they're in Raiden Shrine in Thailand or Iraq or whatever the hell it is. And so anyway, then they meet Liu Kang and Kung Lao, who have already leaped ahead of these losers, and they're already hanging out with Raiden. Liu Kang is depicted very accurate and very cool, and ironically enough, by the time we get up to him, he's logistically where he should have been in the movie if he had just been the main character in the movie from the beginning. But they fucked him over and gave all his main character energy to this Mary Sue Cole Yang. So anyway, Kung Lao, on the other hand, is very fully realized, and he is randomly one of the best characters in this goddamn movie. Considering he's the guy who just throws his fucking hat at people, this movie, oddly enough, didn't cheap out on Kung Lao. They did all his moves, they did all his special shit, and he comes off great. Except they murder him half an hour in, so conflicted. Jax, meanwhile, is randomly at this temple despite already having his arms ripped off, and then we come to the stupidest plot twist of this entire movie. For as many characters as this movie had to cram in, and as much plot as this movie had to go over, which it didn't, in the original 1995 Mortal Kombat movie, the characters had special abilities because they were the world's best martial artists, or they were from another dimension and they could do magic. In this movie, they commit the huge sin of explaining what did not need to be explained. They go out on this huge limb and just make up this bullshit law that anyone who gets to compete in Mortal Kombat gets given a superpower. And this is honestly so lame and limiting story-wise, because then they don't give Sonya a superpower because she wasn't chosen. But anyway, then this gives them a cheap excuse to give Kano his eye lasers without him being a cyborg, and Jax his robot arms without him being a cyborg. But that's so fucking stupid, because both of those characters are fucking cyborgs. And cyborgs, actually exist in real world. And, By the time you get to Mortal Kombat 3, the cyborgs are an entire fucking faction. But in this fucking movie, Jax just fucking grows robot arms like a fucking chia pet. It's so fucking stupid. Like, it could have been cool, but then it opens up all these weird questions where you have to ask, like, so does Jax just have the power to grow metal body parts? Could Jax grow himself a suit of armor? If Jax's legs got cut off, would he grow robot legs? If Jax's skin cut off, would he grow robot skin? And yeah, Kano just his eye lasers, so woo, Kano, you're funny, yeah. Anyway, so Shang Tsung shows up after that, and he fucking sucks in this movie. He just sits in a chair for most of the movie, and they like show him eating like one soul at like one point, but it gets no fucking development because they made the villain in this movie Sub-Zero. I mean, for story purposes, he had to be there, but he just sits in a chair all the time and like yells at the good guys, yells at the bad guys. Also, Shao Kahn is like set up in like statues in the background, so you know he's coming. But literally right now, the movie is just like 4 movies away from like actually getting to Shao Kahn, so that's like whatever. Next up on the bad guy list is Molina. Molina looks like shit. They didn't do her costume right. They didn't give her a face mask. So instead she just has like bad Halloween blood all over her face the entire time. So she either comes off looking like a dirty serial killer or like a bad zombie on Halloween. And then at the end, for 3 glorious seconds of CGI, she has her accurate in-game model of having too many teeth, and then they kill her. Next up is Cabal. Now, Cabal has this really funny asshole from Chicago personality that I really appreciated, which was just kind of random and weird. Now, he was redesigned to look way more serious, so they gave him like this big stupid Predator mask. Apparently, this was also a change that came out of Mortal Kombat 11. So, as pissed as I am that they changed another character, it's another change that came out of Mortal Kombat 11, and it's a bad adaptation of a bad adaptation. So, as dumb as this looks, I at least thought he was the second coolest villain in the movie. I don't know. Maybe he was the coolest villain in the movie. Like, I realized after looking into Cabal that a lot of the random changes I didn't like in this movie were the result of random Deep War changes that happened in Mortal Kombat 11. And I haven't played Mortal Kombat 11, but I sort of want to because fucking Robocop's in it. Anyway, let's keep going. So, after this, there's some characters I didn't fucking even recognize or care about. There was Natara from Mortal Kombat 5, but since she has expensive CGI gargoyle wings, they kill her off on sight. She is in the movie for fucking 2 minutes, then they fucking chop her in half. Next up, Goro shows up like in the middle of the movie and like terrorizes a small farmhouse. But again, he's a very expensive CGI monster. So he gets stabbed in the stomach and instantly dies dead. Again, like Kitara, in 2 fucking minutes. Next up is Riko. And I didn't fucking recognize Riko. I knew about Riko because I played Mortal Kombat 4 like a few times, but in this movie they did him so poorly and so low budgetly that I didn't recognize that guy was Riko. He just looks like a fucking dude with a hammer and like a face tattoo. He looks so nothing like his character in the game that just did not resonate with me at all during the movie. Anyway, so then bad guys come out. Cabal gets a cool moment. He gets to talk to Kano and he makes Kano switch sides. So then Kano breaks Raiden's barrier stick and all the bad guys swarm into Raiden's temple. And at the same time, while all this is going on, Cole teleports back to his house where he nearly gets his family murdered by Goro. But then Cole gets these really, really lame superpowers, which are apparently a magical turtleneck sweater that repels energy and makes magic knives, and it looks so dorky compared to all the legitimate Mortal Kombat characters and all the bad, low-budget Mortal Kombat characters. Like, it just looks like a fucking plastic turtleneck sweater, and it just makes this movie feel really cheap. Anyway, so Kung Lao died despite being pretty fucking cool. Liu Kang gets angry because he's dead, so he uses the Fire Dragon Fatality, which is a rare, shining glimmer of hardcore awesomeness in this movie. Probably one of the standout good moments in the movie. And after that, Kano and Sonya somehow teleport back to Sonya's house, where Sonya kills Kano using the house because she booby-trapped the house. That was honestly unexpected and cool. A little weird, but overall cool. Although, if you take a second to think about it, if her whole damn house was booby-trapped, how come they used none of that shit during the Reptile fight a day earlier, which was inside the same house? Anyway, so that's how Sonya gets her powers and gets invited to the tournament. Anyway, after that, despite the fact that Cole went to his house to kill Goro, like literally 2 seconds after he left, Sub-Zero showed up at the house and murdered his entire family, which was a really dark but cool moment because, again, Sub-Zero is the bad guy in this movie. Oh, and in most of the final battles, a very light, kind of orchestrated remix of the Mortal Kombat techno song played in the background. So, that was okay, but come on, just play the fucking song. Like, a lot of us just want the fucking song. It's like Ghostbusters. The song is just that good. Anyway, so that brings us to the final fucking battle. So they have this final battle between Cole and Sub-Zero in the MMA gym where Cole works as a has-been MMA fighter. Except all of a sudden it's covered with ice and that looks pretty metal. Then finally Scorpion shows up after making us wait the entire fucking movie and teasing it. And yeah, this is the fucking battle from the poster. And yeah, it's good. But it's just stupid that fucking, again, Cole Young sucks all the energy out of what should have been a standard Scorpion versus Sub-Zero movie. Like, it was hyped up as a Scorpion versus Sub-Zero movie, and Scorpion is only in the fucking movie for a goddamn 10 minutes. And again, fucking Cole Young jacks his storyline, jacks Liu Kang's storyline, messes up both of them. And yeah, so they team up, and Sub-Zero dies, and then, since Sub-Zero's dead, somehow magically Cole's family unkills being frozen to death, which is nonsense. Like, they literally showed earlier in the game that when Sub-Zero, like, freezes you to death, you die in an explosion of blood, so it makes zero sense that his family is alive just because they're, like, cute and whatever, happy ending. Go figure. So yeah, then in like the last like 3 seconds of the movie, Cole is like, I'm going to Hollywood to get Johnny Cage, because it's not a Mortal Kombat movie without Johnny Cage. And they never fucking get to the tournament. They made a Mortal Kombat movie where you never fucking get to the Mortal Kombat tournament. They never see Johnny Cage either. And Shang Tsung is not defeated. Shang Tsung barely does anything. They show you Outworld, but the main characters never go there. Like, how did they never get to the tournament? This is like that bad Itchy and Scratchy cartoon where they're trying to get to the fireworks factory and they never get there. So, yeah, that is the disappointing and strange remake of Mortal Kombat. In retrospect, the old one adapted this series so well, so perfectly, that they could only go down from there. It boggles my mind, but this is one of the worst remakes I've ever seen. Like, this movie honestly felt like it was trying to be like a low-budget horror movie about Sub-Zero, kind of in the style of the very successful low-budget Joker movie, but then somehow along the way it just mutated into a very half-assed Mortal Kombat prequel, and it was bad. It barely covered the bare beginning of the story, and since Cole Young was there, it fucking neutered its two main characters. Like, the bizarre emphasis on Sub-Zero in this movie made me think of this really bad Mortal Kombat platformer on the N64 where you had to play as Sub-Zero and all the stages had this bad 1990s platformer syndrome. Everything looked the same and it was like way too complicated to get through any of the stages. Anyway, I bring that up because I feel like I could have given this movie a lot more credit and forgiven it way more if it had been called like Mortal Kombat, Origin of Sub-Zero, or like Mortal Kombat Begins, you know, some bullshit like that. Like the poster even strongly emphasizes that this is just a Sub-Zero versus Scorpion movie. But this movie was just such a no-win situation. I guess if it had been a Sub-Zero movie that set up a Mortal Kombat movie, wait, that's what it was. That's what it was. It was a Sub-Zero movie that set up a Mortal Kombat movie. Like, it's a half-assed reboot leading to another half-assed reboot. Like, maybe in the next reboot they can just kill off Cole and actually follow Sonya, Johnny Cage, and Liu Kang like the 1995 movie did. Or fuck, since Scorpion apparently died at the end of this movie, they could let's like turn Cole into the new Scorpion. But I don't know, I feel like they fucked that up really hard. Mortal Kombat, the bad movie from 2021, gets a 5 out of 10. The Sub-Zero horror movie angle was good. The Scorpion backstory was good. Kano, Cabal, and Kung Lao were all good. But the main character sucked. They plagiarized and bastardized Liu Kang and Scorpion stories. And then for every character they got right, they got 2 characters wrong. And the biggest fucking sin of this movie is they never got to the goddamn Mortal Kombat tournament. So it seems this movie succeeded. So it seems we're going to get a Mortal Kombat 2 movie, which, ironically enough, is going to be another adaptation of Mortal Kombat 1. Because this was just the prologue of Mortal Kombat 1. Except a bunch of random extra characters died. Anyway, despite that, this movie is somehow being considered a success. But you know what? It was defeated at the box office by Demon Slayer. 2 weeks in a row. Fuck you, Mortal Kombat movie. You were defeated by Rengoku Kyojuro. You were not the winner. Like and subscribe my content. Bye.